welcome to rescuing you from the roller coaster of perimenopause. This is honestly my life's work and I absolutely love it. In Australia, we like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of our land. I acknowledge that I'm hosting this webinar from the lands of the Kulin Nation with respect to elders past, present and emerging. I also acknowledge the traditional custodians of the various lands on which you all reside today and the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people participating in this webinar. Let me know what your burning questions are for this evening. And no question is a silly question. I don't mind. Please bring your questions. It extends me as a practitioner and as a person, and I really like to understand what the women are experiencing. So I've got a really close relationship with the women in my clinic, and I hope to extend that out to you this evening too. I'm delighted to be in service of you. Please use me, ask all of your questions. All right. So I know this is a bit funny, but things are funny because they're often true. So you know that feeling when you're suddenly sweating like a marathon runner in a sauna and your mood's swinging faster than Tarzan on a vine and you're wondering if you're turning into a werewolf? Anyone experienced the aggro? Well, my friend, that could potentially be perimenopause. And let me tell you, it's a party that no one wants to attend. But seriously, many women suffer in silence during this period. I have a friend who hides her afternoon naps from her partner due to the energy crisis. We're often told that these symptoms are normal. And by normal, they mean that you're turning into a fire-breathing dragon, and that's just part of being a woman. And I'm here to tell you that it can be far more graceful than that. These symptoms are biochemically driven and can be addressed with the right diet, lifestyle, and supplementation. So if you want to say goodbye to those horrible symptoms, hot flushes, mood swings, then listen up. And if you need a little help, I've got your back with the Holland Clinic Peri Protocol and our lifestyle and dietary modifications. It's a fancy name for lifestyle modifications around sleep, food, movement, and supplementation. So don't be afraid to take action and make positive changes to your health. Everything that I talk about this evening is evidence-based and pure scientific research. I'm an absolute tech nerd and I love it, and so do the women in my clinic. Let's face it, nobody wants to be a fire-breathing werewolf. Something's not quite right and you're not sure what is generally what starts to happen in perimenopause. And it's so interesting, even as healthcare practitioners and people who write about this. I was on a podcast the other day with a really amazing journalist, and she was telling me that she was even surprised when she was in perimenopause and started to have symptoms. But she'd actually been writing about health and perimenopause and menopause for 25 years. And I can tell you that the anxiety that I started to experience when I was about 42, I'm 47 this year, was really caught me by surprise and didn't really have much reason to be anxious. And it was really that sort of physical anxiety that a lot of women in perimenopause actually experience. So you're over the age of 35 and something's just not quite right. What you once did to remain vital in your 20s and 30s is just not working for you anymore. And something just seems to be a little bit off. That's why I say something's just a little NQR. You're not sleeping as well as you once did, difficulty falling or staying asleep. So this can be a number of different reasons here. This can be a melatonin and a cortisol imbalance. This can be about glucose. This can be about adrenals. This can certainly be about those hot flushes that are keeping us awake at night. There may be a little bit more adiposity around the middle. You might start to notice that your genes don't fit the way they once did before. You might be moodier than usual. You might feel a little anxious or low. This may be perimenopause. And if it is, there's so much you can do about it. Medical disclaimer, of course. These teachings are for educational and information purposes only this evening. This is a full medical disclaimer. Of course, this is not a one-on-one consultation, although we do offer those. We offer a chaos to calm consultation in our clinic, either virtually or in clinic in Melbourne, Australia. We're in Brunswick. If anybody wants to come in, that would be absolutely wonderful. We do offer that initial consultation. It's called a chaos to calm consultation, so feel free if that's what you need. Now, oh my goodness, I got so many emails, women reaching out and telling me how they're struggling. Unfortunately, this is nothing new to me. These are the symptoms that I hear all of the time. So the weight gain and the tiredness and the low libido and the fatigue and the no energy. Yes, absolutely. I'm here to tell you that there's never been a time in your life where you have been more inflamed with less energy. And there's a reason behind this. It's not just because you're over the age of 35 or just because you're 47. There is so much happening biochemically in your body. And I really love testing. I love doing full bloods. I love doing the Dutch test. I love doing gut testing if necessary in order to get to the bottom of why you're feeling the way you are. So this is not really about what, it's about why. So the why is so important. Why the weight gain? Is the weight gain because really you aren't moving enough? Most of the time in perimenopause, we're busy. We've got a professional career, we've got families, we've got dogs to walk. So a lot of the time we are moving enough. And I'm actually here to tell you that in perimenopause, we actually need to sleep more and move less and eat more of the right things in the right order in order to bring down that glucose in our bloodstream and that insulin resistance. Because quite often with the usual information or the usual advice that we're given, people say, oh, look, all you need to do is lose weight in order to feel better. But I'm here to tell you that when there's insulin resistance, it's almost impossible to lose weight. You can run around the block as many times as you like and eat lettuce leaves all day long, and you're not going to be able to shift that weight because of the insulin resistance. We really need to bring down insulin resistance first before we can shift that weight. And of course, the exhaustion. We are in an energy crisis, and I will go into that with you. Brain fog, yes, absolutely. The majority of symptoms in perimenopause are in actual fact brain symptoms. If anybody's read the book by Dr. Lisa Mosconi, The XX Brain, she's a neuroscientist and is doing amazing research in this area. There are actually lots of them. But all of these symptoms that we're experiencing in perimenopause are actually brain symptoms. So we do need to protect our brains. We need to protect our moods. We need to protect our minds. We need to protect our relationships from this crazy roller coaster. Debilitating migraines. Yes, this certainly sounds like they were progesterone deficiency migraines. Marina placed in 2019. Quite often, actually, I'm not sure if this is the case with you here, if you are on the webinar tonight, but the Marina, we're often told that the Marina is actually progesterone, but progestins behave more like androgens in the female body than they do progesterone. So that's a tricky one. Night sweats, yes, of course. Night sweats can be due to an estrogen deficiency state. But I'm here to tell you that in perimenopause, what happens first is that we have progesterone decreasing. And then when progesterone decreases, estrogen starts to flail. So what can actually happen is we can have estrogen deficient and estrogen excess symptoms during perimenopause. So it's quite difficult to determine which one you have without testing. My baby miniature schnauzer thinks it's a good idea to start playing with her toy. Sorry about the squeaky toy in the background. The inner vibration, yeah, that's a really interesting one. Lots of women actually talk about that sign of that inner vibration. That can really be due to the progesterone deficiency creating this sort of internal anxiety or heart palpitations. And we've got to keep an eye on iron during perimenopause, particularly if there are gut symptoms. Weight gain, yes, puffy face, fat tummy, sore joints in the morning. Those sore joints can be due to that decrease in estrogen, but we've got so many gorgeous supplements, things like pro-resolving mediators and really high quality fish oil that can lubricate those joints from the inside out, as well as the MCT oils that are in our ketogenic beverages, part of our Holland Clinic Peri protocol. Oh, crazy crying and then laughing. Yes, the mood symptoms, absolutely. They quite often correlate to an adrenal insufficiency. We've been using our adrenals for so long at this point, and now we have to switch from an ovarian production of hormone to an adrenal production of hormone. And quite often our adrenals are exhausted at this point in time. They often need a little bit of love. Activated B5 is absolutely brilliant for treating that sort of perimenopausal rage, or that I call it the mum or the relationship aggro. That's a good one. Hot flashes, yeah, chest pressure during the night, and struggling to sleep, and the heat. Of course, I understand. Yes, welcome to perimenopause. So yeah, the women in my clinic report the issues of medical gaslighting or that head tilt from the GP, once women walk in there discussing all of the perimenopausal symptoms that they're experiencing, they get that head tilt of like, yeah, that's about right for your age, love, which I don't believe I believe it's negligent care. I really don't like it. It's dismissive and it's superficial care. It's got a one-size-fits-all approach. Quite often the women in my clinic report fat shaming, and this is negligent and it's inadequate. Many women experience physical and or brain symptoms in perimenopause, like I was talking about before. Dr. Dale Bredesen and Dr. Lisa Mosconi have shown in their research that this is to be true. It's important to end the stigma around experiencing perimenopausal symptoms in our 30s and 40s. Quite often practitioners don't learn about perimenopause. They understand the fertile years quite well and they know who to refer us on to, but perimenopausal women really need to be expressing with an autoimmune disorder before you get referred on to a practitioner that can potentially help you with your thyroid, but may actually not understand the perimenopausal plethora at that point in time. And quite often they're talking about menopause. So when you walk in talking about this complex set of signs and symptoms, they think to themselves, well, she's too young to be menopausal. And I know that she's not necessarily in her fertile years. So perhaps I'll prescribe, and this is what the women in my clinic tell me, they've often been offered sleeping pills, anti-anxiety medication, or antidepressants. And I'm not here to say that those are bad things. And I understand that they can certainly be life-saving in the right circumstances, but it is negligent care if nothing else is investigated either. So women need thorough investigation, including testing of all female hormones. And I'm not sure how many of you have been to a primary healthcare practitioner, discussed these symptoms with them, and have had somebody say to you, I'm not sure what's going on, but I know that we're going to get to the bottom of this for you. We're going to do thorough testing. We're going to test your progesterone, your estrogen, your androgens. We're going to test to see how all of your hormones are metabolizing. Let's have a look at your stress hormone. Let's have a look at your melatonin levels. Let's have a look at your activated B12, your B6s. Let's have a look at your dopamine. Let's have a look at your norepinephrine and adrenaline. Let's have a look at your thyroid and your adrenals, and let's see what's really going on. If you have had that response, I'm so delighted to hear it. Please share that with me. There are a number of conditions that can arise in perimenopause too that I really do believe need to be investigated due to the immune modulating effects of progesterone. When she starts to decrease, our immune systems can also, we'll put it this way, progesterone is cool, calm, and collected. So when we have enough progesterone, we feel cool, calm, and collected. We sleep. We've got fat in the right places. We've got nice, juicy cheeks. We've got our waists, and we've got the adiposity where it should be. So we've got fat stores in our boobs and in our hips, right? We're not holding on to that fat around the middle, which is what tends to happen when cortisol is high, when we've got insulin resistance, and when we have an estrogen excess picture. So that quite often does happen due to a progesterone deficiency. And I see that often in perimenopause. I often see a progesterone deficiency with an estrogen excess picture. That's not to say that that's what's going on for everybody, but this is a picture that I see often. Other things we need to investigate are, like I said, metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance. Type 2 diabetes is so common. 1 in 2 women in Australia actually have metabolic syndrome and don't know it. We need to investigate potential markers for Alzheimer's and dementia, high blood pressure, you name it. So there are lots of disease states that really are worth investigating at this time in our lives that can cause some of the symptoms. And a clinician worth their weight in salt knows where to look first. And like I said, thorough testing is the key. It's very important to advocate for yourself and find practitioners that can provide you the care that you need rather than those Band-Aid solutions that only treat the what, but don't answer that why. How do you know if you're in perimenopause? Well, Professor Geraldine Pryor talks about these 9 symptoms being the official, women typically between the ages of 35 and 55, experiencing any 3 of the following official symptoms. But I'm here to tell you that the list of symptoms in perimenopause can be quite unique and quite strange. I mean, dizziness and vertigo come into the unique categories as well. But really, if your periods are heavier or your periods are longer or shorter than they once were, you've got swollen or lumpy breasts. So for example, with that symptom, it's really imperative that we investigate iodine as well as an estrogen excess picture. So generally, if you do have that swollen, lumpy breast, you could potentially have an estrogen excess picture, and you could also potentially be detoxifying your estrogen down the 16-hydroxy pathway, which is not ideal. Waking during the night, increased pain or cramping during periods. This tends to happen in perimenopause too. There's so much we can do about that from a nutritional supplementation perspective. Strong evidence-based supplementation. Night sweats, of course, new headaches or migraines, mood swings, depression, feeling low or aggro, as I mentioned before, and weight gain without changes to diet or lifestyle. So often women talk to me about the fact that, they've changed nothing and something in their physical bodies seems to have changed. So the question is how to make the roller coaster of perimenopause far more graceful. I'm here to tell you that my approach doesn't reinvent the wheel, it just makes it work. So, and I'm also here to tell you that it can be far more graceful. Like I said, I'm 47 this year, I'm in the thick of it, and I'm having a good time of it. But I do want you to know that I'm also in this human body, so I get it. I've probably experienced most of the symptoms myself, but I do have the lifestyle modifications and the supplementation now, and I know how to use it in order to keep things more graceful than they would otherwise be. I'm certainly not on the roller coaster. So why is perimenopause such a roller coaster? This is a fantastic illustration by Dr. Laura Blyden. She is an excellent practitioner. She practices in Christchurch in New Zealand, I believe. Perimenopause means around menopause. So it's kind of like around that time. So I'm 47. I'm probably going to go into perimenopause at about 50, 51. But unfortunately, I'm here to tell you that the research shows that we can actually experience these horrible signs and symptoms that I'm talking about for 6 years after we reach menopause. And menopause is in fact just one day, right? So menopause is the day, the only official day where you have not had a menstrual cycle or a bleed for 12 months and 1 day. Then you're apparently officially in menopause. Hallelujah. I know lots of women are like, please bring it on. I've had enough of this. Like I said before, there's never been a time in your life where you have been more inflamed with less energy. And this picture is a fantastic graphical representation of that. So progesterone is this gorgeous sea green color. And then the estrogen is this pink dotted line, right? So have a look at this. In the perimenopausal phase, watch how progesterone just takes a massive dive. And because progesterone takes this massive dive, and progesterone keeps estrogen in check. You know, she basically makes her behave. As soon as progesterone starts to dive, estrogen really misbehaves. So she really roller coasters. And down here, when estrogen is low, that's when you can be experiencing those estrogen deficiency symptoms. And then bang, she can go back up just like that in perimenopause. And that's when you can experience those estrogen excess symptoms. So no wonder women are confused. So rescuing you from the roller coaster of perimenopause is a 3-part process. You've got to repair your gut, your immunity, and your metabolism. And I pair those two together because don't forget that your immune system lies within your gastrointestinal tract. So 80 to 90% of your immune system is actually in your gut, and so is your feel-good hormonal production. So we produce about 80% of our serotonin or our happy hormones in our gastrointestinal tracts. So remember, when you start to repair your gut, you repair your mood, your mind. When we have an inflammation in the gastrointestinal tract, we often have this inflammation in our moods and our minds. And yeah, believe me, I feel it when I eat gluten. Gluten is one of my sometimes foods. I really have to keep it to a minimum. When I do have it, you know, the love of my life happens to be an incredible German man who loves German rye bread. And oh my God, it smells so good when it comes out of the oven and it's crispy on the outside and it's all fluffy on the inside. I'm very human. And every now and then I will have been gluten-free for long enough to have forgotten how I suffer when I have it. But then, yeah, when I do have my sometimes food gluten, I have this inflammation in my gut. Sometimes it gives me pain straight away. Sometimes it's within that 72-hour period after eating it. But I can tell you that I definitely notice a difference in my mood. Food is incredibly powerful, and it can definitely change the way we feel. So when there's an inflammation in that gut, we can have an inflammation in our moods and our minds. And when we have an inflammation in our mind, you know, whether we're completely stressed out, we can often have that inflammation in the gut. And this has been proven through that vasovagal nerve connection, that gut-brain axis that everyone's talking about. And then, of course, your metabolism. We have to repair the metabolism. In perimenopause, what's actually happening is because of estrogen decreasing, and that could literally be just here in those, you know, that's why sometimes during perimenopause, we have that kind of like, oh, what was I doing in here? Or where the hell did I park the car? Like, or just somebody you know, and you just can't even remember their name. It's on the tip of your tongue. Or you just confidently insert incorrect words into sentences. That's that brain symptom. It could potentially be brain fog, which clears up as soon as you heal, seal, and repair that gut too. but that real brain energy crisis. So estrogen is decreasing and your brain is not using glucose in the same way that it once did. So this is what I'm talking about when I talk about the energy crisis. All of the research is showing that we need to be able to access an alternative fuel source in perimenopause. And this is exactly what I teach you to do inside my Rescuing You from the Rollercoaster, my premium program, through our ketogenic beverages. Although by saying that word, I know that some women get triggered straight away because keto diets don't work for everyone. And this is not a ketogenic diet at all. This is only a ketogenic beverage in order to teach your body to access an alternative fuel source in the morning. The rest of my protocol is based on a Mediterranean diet. However, because I teach a full elimination and reintroduction diet, you basically have an individualized food protocol at the end of my program. So you know exactly which foods make you feel incredible and exactly which foods go into the sometimes food list. I don't like vilifying food groups because welcome to being human. I think sometimes it is important to eat the birthday cake at the party. And the research does actually show that an 80-20 model, which is also what I teach. Look, I understand in the beginning, some women have to cut out everything in order to feel comfortable in their own skin or shed some of those extra kilos. But then really, come on, we're human, I certainly don't have orthorexia. Orthorexia is something that I see a lot in this space. I see practitioners and health coaches having the perfect diet. And I think the perfect diet is one where you are happy and you eat in a way where you have food freedom, but you make educated decisions around foods that you know are good for you and foods that you know are bad for you. Quite often women in perimenopause are afraid of food because of this immune modulating effect that progesterone once had on our immune systems and our guts. So what happens is we start to react negatively to foods that we once didn't react negatively to. I'm so excited about this protocol because it does bring women food freedom. And I am living proof as a recovering food addict and somebody that had chronic fatigue syndrome and Hashimoto's thyroiditis and all sorts of issues as a young woman and a young adult. I certainly found the solutions that turned my health around. So I want to do the same for you. Rebalancing your hormones and balancing your life is the second part to my process. I use the Dutch test, but I also use full blood testing. I can show you that later if we've got time, or I can send you that information afterwards if you'd like. And we reclaim your metabolic health so that we can prevent chronic disease now and in the future. See, this is the bloody party that none of us want to be at, that's for sure. Okay, so what do we need to do to experience a graceful perimenopause? We need to repair our guts or repair your gut, your immunity and your metabolism. We've got to get that metabolism firing so that you can access this alternative fuel source, boost your brain, have all of the energy that you need. Look, honestly, it's 7:30 at night and I feel fantastic. I do this myself. I live it. You'll see photographs of me next doing this. And I'm no different as a practitioner than I am in my normal life. You can ask all of my friends and family. This is exactly what I do and how I live. So it's a very practical approach. And I have an incredible clinic in Melbourne, Australia, where all of the women in my clinic have access to me. They know that this is what we do, and they know that this is what makes them feel so graceful. You'll have to have a look at my wall of love in a minute on my website, where these beautiful three-dimensional real women share their success stories. So repair your gut, your immunity and your metabolism, rebalance your hormones and your life, and reclaim your metabolic health and energy and prevent chronic disease now and in the future. Okie dokes. So repairing the gut, immunity and metabolism, your gut bacteria control almost everything in your body and mind. A beneficial microbiome is essential. So most people these days have heard of the microbiome. The microbiome is this landscape of bacteria, fungi, viruses that live within your gastrointestinal tract. And we need to make sure that the good guys are in control. Starting with healing the gut and metabolism is important for detoxification of your hormones. So some women will come to me and go, I'm not sure whether I need to heal, seal and repair my gut. I think I can go straight into balancing my hormones. It's imperative that you do this part first. I use something called Saccharomyces boulardii in my prescription. And if you do our gut course, you'll receive my gut prescription as well as the full premium program too. Saccharomyces goes into the gastrointestinal tract. She is so clever. She picks off unbeneficial bacteria and she competes for space. And then she increases this beautiful thick jelly-like substance called secretory IgA. And it's within the secretory IgA, that's where we want to plant those roses. That's where your beneficial bacteria wants to live. And that's also where your immune system resides. And that's where your feel-good hormones come from. Your serotonin is produced in that gastrointestinal tract. So your rose-tinted sunnies are basically returned to you. So you start feeling better for absolutely no reason whatsoever. You feel less bloat. You don't hold on to fluid retention anymore. And you quieten down that mind. Inflammation in the gut, inflammation in the mood and the mind, remember? And then rebalancing your hormones in your life. Hormonal imbalances in perimenopause can be almost impossible to live with. Oh, here we go. 53%. Oh my goodness. 53% are struggling with hot flushes. 41% night sweats. Libido changes 47%. Anxiety 59%. Yeah, that's high. That anxiety piece, we can definitely get that down. There's some incredible botanical medication that can bring down that anxiety. And there's some incredible botanical supplementation that can bring up progesterone too, naturally. So all evidence-based natural supplementation that actually make you feel a hell of a lot better. Weight gain, 65%. And I'm here to tell you that 1 in 2 of you, out of all of the women that are on this webinar tonight, 1 in 2 of you have metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome is a fancy word for insulin resistance and pre-diabetes type 2. It's imperative to test HbA1c levels, and it's imperative to test insulin. If we have time at the end, I'll go through the blood tests that you have to advocate for. Vaginal dryness, 29%. Yeah, lots we can do for vaginal dryness too. We have vaginal pessaries. We have beautiful vaginal probiotics, believe it or not, and actually lubricants, which work beautifully. But balancing those hormones helps with that too. Memory difficulties, 71%. Exactly. We've got to ensure that we protect our brains so that we don't have dementia in the future. Believe it or not, type 2 diabetes, which is that insulin resistance piece or that metabolic syndrome, turns into dementia and Alzheimer's, which is now considered type 3 diabetes. We have to save ourselves from this. I don't know about you, but I definitely want to remember my son's name, and I want to be present for my loved ones right up until the end. Right up until the end. Fatigue, 59%. Yes. And this is because you can't actually access the energy from your food. There's so much we can do with your food. We can figure out which foods are best for you through this elimination and reintroduction program. And then I can show you how to access an alternative fuel source so you can really fire up your brain and get yourself into that fat burn state so that you're burning your own fat stores for fuel, and then eat in a way that is anti-inflammatory and beautiful for your body, your mind, and your gut. Irregular periods, 35%. Yep, that doesn't always go out straight away, but it's quite nice to know when you're going to get your period. How many of you have thought that you were pregnant during this time? I have so many patients coming into my clinic going, oh my God, I thought I was pregnant. Yes, absolutely, Kathy. I do Zoom consults. Yeah, we consult all over the world. In fact, we have patients in America, we have patients in Colombia, South Africa, the UK, you name it. Yeah. Okie dokie. Headaches, yeah, 11%. Joint pain, 67%. Yeah, wow. I've got some incredible stuff for joint pain, not only really high dose omegas, but pro-resolving mediators. And by, using beautiful botanical medication, I broke this arm in the first lockdown so badly that I have a huge plate and 9 screws in it. And without my joint pain botanicals, I literally feel like the Tin Man. So the difference between me on an appropriate lifestyle schedule, my ketogenic beverages with my MCT oil and my supplements, I feel buttery, but without them, I literally feel like the Tin Man. I certainly had an experience of what it may feel like when I'm 80, but hopefully I'll keep myself vital and lubricated right up until then. Breast tenderness or pain, 11%, muscle pain, 33%. Magnesium is imperative in perimenopause for so many things. Not only is it a precursor to progesterone, which is our cool, calm, and collected hormone, but it's absolutely brilliant for muscle pain. But yes, muscle pain is one of those things. Bloating, 44%. We'll get rid of that, no problemo. Digestive disturbances, 33%. Yeah, it's so unfair. At the age of 35, our hydrochloric acid starts to decrease. So we can't actually metabolize, transform, and transport our food as efficiently as we once did. Digestive enzymes come in really handy here, but also removing your trigger foods is really supportive. Allergies, yes. New food sensitivities or allergies, 33% of you. So you can see how important, that's almost a third. It's so important to do that full elimination and reintroduction diet. And I know it sounds like hard work, and it is. It is for about a 4-week period. Basically, what that's based on is there's this incredible body of evidence that has looked at neutral foods that don't cause us any issues. We eat only those for like a 4-week period, and then we start to reintroduce the foods that we love and like, and we wait and see what our reactions are. But there's a particular order in which to do this, and we discuss this, and we work out your sometimes food lists and your always food lists. And like I said, welcome to being human. I am human, and I will have a glass of red wine with a steak when we go out on an occasion. I certainly don't drink during the week anymore. My brain can't handle it in the way that it once did. So, but I'm not perfect. And like I said, I think that that's actually perfect because I don't have orthorexia. I'm not perfect in the sense that I don't only eat organic quinoa balls, and I'm not entirely alcohol free, although I love it when women are. It's so much better for you. It really is. But I do love having a margarita with the love of my life every now and then. Okay. Yes, there's more. Yeah. Itchy skin. Oh my God. Yes, this is a huge one. Yeah. Tingling, overactive bladder. Tell me about it. Yeah. Actually, progesterone cream can work really beautifully. Yes, loss of thinning hair, 22%. In the Dutch test, which is the functional test that I use in my clinic, you can actually see how you detoxify or metabolize your androgens. So you can see whether you are metabolizing your androgens, which are your male hormones. Well, they're not really your male hormones, but we think of them in that way. Your testosterone and your testosterone metabolites. If you're metabolizing them down the 5-alpha hydroxy pathway, you've got that female pattern baldness pathway, and they're beautiful botanicals that can actually block that to stop that hair thinning. Depression, 22%. Heart palpitations, yes, that's quite often a progesterone deficiency symptom. Brittle nails, increased irritability, panic attacks, yeah. Osteoporosis and more. All right. Well, I'm here to tell you that all of those things, it's possible to make this far more graceful. So we'll rebalance those hormones and your life. Hormonal imbalances in perimenopause can be impossible to live with. Oh, let me just move that poll again. Oh, the Dutch test. Yes, absolutely. I'm going to get to that. The Dutch test is literally the gold standard of female hormonal testing worldwide. I order the tests in. They go all the way to America. It takes about 4 weeks to get back to me, but I will go into those. And if we have time at the end, I'll show you a Dutch test. They are unbelievable. Balancing your hormones can help prevent chronic diseases like type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease risk, and dementia, like I said before. And we need to reclaim that metabolic health and prevent the chronic diseases that I was talking of before, now and in the future. So you can prevent things like heart attacks or severely decrease your chances. Stroke, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, osteopenia, osteoporosis. I deal with these things in my clinic in Melbourne all the time. Alzheimer's, dementia, by making lifestyle modifications and beautiful evidence-based supplementation, this can turn around. It's never too late to improve your health. Let's start now. Now, this looks like a bit of an abstract picture. I'll show you a bigger version of this later on if you like. This is the entire mind map of rescuing you from the roller coaster of perimenopause. I know I need to zoom in to really share it with you, but I go into every single symptom that could possibly be expressing itself in your body, in your mind, in your brain, in your gut, in my premium program. I'll show you a different version later on. So like I said before, there has never been a time in your life where you have been more inflamed with the decrease of progesterone, with less energy due to this energy crisis in perimenopause. Your body and mind are in an energy crisis. All right. I'm having sleepless nights and I don't know why. Lots of things impact sleep. One of the things that can is the glucose spike at dinner time. Eating fiber-rich foods can promote melatonin production and our sleep hormone. It's really important to ensure that we've got great melatonin levels in perimenopause so we can actually sleep. If we have higher melatonin levels, the cortisol can't be high at night. So cortisol is one of those things that wakes us at night. A glucose spike at dinner time, if you're eating in the wrong way at the wrong time, or the wrong foods that are triggering you, like so many of you are, according to the poll, that can really keep you up at night. So I can teach you how to eat, when to eat, why to eat, add in all the gorgeous good fiber first thing in the morning so that we can balance that glucose at night. We can also focus on plant-based melatonins to increase your melatonin at night. Nothing that's dependent, nothing that you'll go, be addicted to. Everything that I use in my clinic is botanical, it's plant-based, it's fully scientifically evidenced. We've got randomized controlled trials for absolutely everything that we prescribe and everything that I say on the webinar tonight. So if there's anybody on here that's an absolute tech nerd like I am, I'm happy to give you all of the research. So yeah, it's so important to make sure that cortisol levels are low at night and melatonin is high. So I'll also teach you about some natural ways in order to bring up your melatonin levels at night and make sure that your cortisol is rising beautifully in the morning. If your cortisol is rising beautifully in the morning, you jump out of bed with lots of energy and ready to start the day as soon as that sun starts to rise. If you don't, you know that you don't have enough cortisol first thing in the morning. A little walk, sunrise, sunset, your eyes and your brain can actually naturally reset melatonin and cortisol itself. Your eyes need to see, they need to go from, like say, for example, now, if you have a look at the sky, it's still blue. Your eyes need to go from blue to red, which is sunset, and then to black to set melatonin. And we really should be eating about 3 hours before dark. And then as soon as the sun sets, about 3 hours later, you should definitely be yawning and ready for bed. All right, let's move on. Have I got any more questions? Here we go. So in summary, let me keep on track. Rescuing you from the roller coaster of perimenopause is a 3-part process. We've got to repair your gut, your immunity, and your metabolism. We need to rebalance your hormones and your life. And we need to reclaim your metabolic health and prevent chronic disease now and in the future. The Holland Clinic perimenopausal protocol is part of the recovery process. So I teach you how to use supported intermittent fasting. Now, don't freak out if some of you have done fasting before or you've never done fasting before. I certainly white-knuckled it in the beginning. This is a supported fast. So it's called fasting mimicking. And we use beautiful breakfast beverages in order to send the message to your brain that you're eating breakfast so that your cortisol and your adrenals stay well supported and your body thinks that you are receiving food and your stress hormones don't spike. So this is a beautiful way to get you into a fat burn as opposed to a fat store state in perimenopause and help you decrease that energy crisis by accessing that alternative fuel source that I was talking about. The energy boosting breakfast beverages to support your fast. I call them ketogenic beverages. Like I said before, don't concern yourselves with the word keto. This is not a ketogenic program. I don't actually advocate for full ketogenic diets in my program. What I've found with the women in my clinic is that they're not sustainable. And I've seen so many things go wrong. It's very, very difficult to do a ketogenic diet sustainably long-term and to do it well, particularly if you have family, a busy lifestyle, you can't weigh all your food, you can't count all your micros and your macros. I just don't think it's sustainable. And like I said, I've seen so many botched jobs. I've seen so many women coming to my clinic that I've had to rescue with their hair falling out and hemorrhaging all over the place and hormonal imbalance to the extreme. And then, of course, the Holland Clinic food protocols, so that we can create that individualized approach to food freedom for you. I've got 3 different food protocols that I offer in my perimenopausal premium program. This isn't a diet. I don't advocate for diets here. And I actually personally don't even like weighing myself because of my background of obesity and cystic acne and being a recovering food addict. So I like using skinny jeans, for example, and I like people feeling comfortable in their own skin, and you can certainly feel it in your clothes, that's for sure. So do I have any other questions? Why are so many ladies not affected by menopause? That's an interesting question because the research actually shows that only 20% of women are not affected by perimenopausal adverse symptoms. So menopause, in a sense, once women reach menopause, it means they haven't had a bleed or a period for 12 months and 1 day. And at that point in time, the symptoms tend to die down and they get quieter. It's not that sort of raging fire of symptoms that can happen prior to menopause. But yeah, the research shows that 20% of women don't actually experience any symptoms. And we don't know why. We don't know why. I'm here to tell you that anthropologically, the women in the Hadza tribe don't even have a word for menopause. They actually have it's something like, I don't know their language, but it's something like, I no longer bleed. And they celebrate being older. And yeah, like I said, they have absolutely, they do not report any symptoms of perimenopause and menopause. But I'm here to tell you that 80% of us do. And the other issue with that is 80% of us experience this sort of roller coaster of perimenopause. And then once we hit menopause, there's about 45 to 50% of women that still experience that perimenopausal roller coaster symptom picture 6 years after they've reached that menopausal date. So yeah, unlucky for some, but what I'm here to say is I want us to reduce the stigma, and I want us to identify these symptoms so that women can get the right help and not get Band-Aid solutions and not be treated for the what, but be treated for the why, so that we can treat holistically and get to the bottom of the conditions and support sustainably so that you can be vital for good. Because with the appropriate supplementation and lifestyle changes, you really can be. And like I said before, I'm living proof of it. Come and visit me in the clinic. I'll tell you my story. If I get a chance, I'm here tonight, I will too. So repairing your gut, immunity, mood, and mind. We've got to dial down the volume on your autoimmune conditions. Believe it or not, lots of us actually have autoimmune conditions that we don't know about. So if you've got any psoriasis, or you've got any endometriosis, or you've got any strange skin conditions, or you've been diagnosed with hypothyroidism, it could be Hashimoto's thyroiditis. We need to investigate these things. So the question with autoimmune conditions is always, where are they and where else are they? If you have an inflamed gut, you have an inflamed mood and mind. Agro, anyone? And further gut support, improving gut health during perimenopause can lead to several positive changes: improved digestion, reduced inflammation, enhanced immune function, improved hormone balance, improved mental health. These changes can help to reduce the symptoms associated with perimenopause and improve overall health and well-being. And don't take my word for it. Give it a go and feel it for yourself. It's amazing. So many women tell me at the initial consultation, they were like, oh, I didn't actually know that you were going to get me to feel this good. And I often wonder why they worked with me in the first place, but they must have been desperate enough to. But yeah, honestly, once you start to experience this, people forget about how wonderful you can feel. And I think we often put up with just feeling blah on a regular basis, and then that becomes our new normal, which is a shame. We deserve to thrive and be vital during this phase too. And then, like I said, I do teach an 80-20 approach. So there's that birthday, just an incredible research trial showing that some fiber and pre and probiotics in the right order at the right time are really beneficial for women in perimenopause. And I should probably mention here that I've seen lots of women going, yeah, I just grabbed a probiotic and actually I still feel pretty bad. It's really important to weed the gastrointestinal tract out first before you plant those roses. And when I mean those roses, I mean like a beneficial probiotic first. If you throw beautiful probiotics or beautiful roses on top of the weeds, you're only going to create more gut dysbiosis. So that's something that I see women do. We think we're doing the right thing, but in actual fact, we're making our symptoms worse by doing that. So it's appropriate treatment in the right order at the right time for the right condition. Alrighty, we need to balance those hormones and your life, reclaim metabolic health and prevent chronic disease now and in the future. That's our little clinic. We're getting onto the Dutch test now, so I'll be able to answer those questions. Balance your hormones and your life. The Dutch test is a comprehensive hormone test that analyzes hormone metabolites in urine samples, identifying hormone imbalances and guiding personalized treatment options. Women who undergo the Dutch test may experience improved symptom management, better understanding of overall health, personalized treatment options, and improved communication with healthcare providers. So you can actually show your healthcare providers exactly what is going on with your progesterone, all 3 estrogens, how they're metabolizing, your testosterone, all of your androgens, and like I said before, your melatonin and your cortisol markers, and so much more. Ultimately, the Dutch test can be a powerful tool for women looking to take control of their health and improve their quality of life during perimenopause. And I know I sound like a bit of an advocate, so I just think it's probably important for me to tell you that I'm not sponsored by anybody. And I don't actually have I don't have any affiliation with any supplement companies or any testing companies or anything like that. So this is really just about the evidence behind the Dutch test. It's pretty unusual, I suppose, for lots of practitioners in Australia to understand the Dutch test. This is really the functional medical component of my training. And it's quite new here. So lots of GPs don't actually know about it. So it's an introduction to them when they see it for the first time. Oh, yeah. What happens if under your direction symptoms persist? Oh, tell me what sort of symptoms, and I'll tell you whether that's ever happened to me or not. Tell me which symptoms you're talking about specifically. I've been doing this in Melbourne, Australia for 23 years, so I'm pretty good at getting things under control. And I really highly encourage you to check out my Wall of Love. Yeah, I have a clinic in Melbourne. We're really busy, full of real life women whose symptoms are no longer there. I can promise you that I'm human, but I will do absolutely everything that I can to get those symptoms out of your way for you. So who am I to talk about nutrition, the gut, hormones, and metabolism? Maybe this will help answer that question. Well, I definitely teach an 80-20 approach in my clinic. Like I said before, we have top shelf evidence-based supplementation. Almost everything that I prescribe is practitioner only. So you do need a prescription for the supplementation that I prescribe. And that's really important because the supplementation is evidence-based and it's taken control of by the TGA. So it's Therapeutic Goods Association. It's not just the FDA. So when you can go into Coles and purchase supplements off the shelf, they're actually sold to you as a food. So they also have an excipient category that protects them, which basically means that they don't have to tell you what's in the supplementation. So you could be buying magnesium off the shelf and 99% of that magnesium could actually be rice flour, for example, because they're underneath the excipient trade code. So they're sold that to you as a food and they have this special clause called excipients and they don't need to tell you what else is in the product. So they could put 1% of magnesium in it and 99% of rice flour. However, when you purchase a supplement that's TGA, Therapeutic Goods Association, it has to be exactly what it says it is. And most of the time, they've got incredible research evidence, randomized controlled trials backing their supplements too. The supplement companies are so on top of it these days. It's incredible. It's not like it was 23 years ago when I started. All right, let's see. Specifically weight gain, aggro moods. Oh, we've got that in the bag. We've got that in the bag. Yeah. Weight gain, aggro, and moods. Yeah. I thought you were going to give me something like some crazy autoimmune disease. No. Yeah. The majority of the women in our clinic lose a kilo if you really, really, really are motivated and you do exactly as I say, and you want to dive right in. The majority of women in my clinic that have that sort of approach lose a kilogram a week. And if you're wanting to lose 10 kilos, I'd say give yourself 12 weeks because you're not a robot. But yeah, if you throw everything at it and you're completely compliant 100% of the time, yeah, most of the time I see a kilo a week. Other women in my clinic, they prefer a gentler approach. They go, look, I'm not going to kill myself. I'm only going to eat according to your protocol Monday to Friday, and I'm going to do whatever I want on the weekend. Now, I'm here to tell you that is considered 80-20. That's what I do in my life, unless things have got a little out of whack and I need to bring it back, after a holiday, for example, or, Christmas. Sometimes I go on a bit of a stricter protocol after Christmas, let's say. Might not be having so many G&Ts at the Christmas parties. But yeah, so if you go 100% of the time, you'll get the benefits and you'll get the outcome that you're looking for. If you go for an 80-20 approach, it might take you a little longer because remember, every time you move out of fat burn into fat store, you halt your weight loss. So if you're wanting to remain in a fat burn state, you need to stick to your protocol 100% of the time. But like I said, 80-20 works too. It's just a slower weight loss period. So for example, I had a woman in the clinic last week doing the 80-20 approach for her weight loss protocol, and she lost 5 kilos in a 12-week period. But she was really happy with that because basically she went on holiday to Noosa with her partner too and ate whatever she wanted and drank whatever she wanted to. So she actually admitted that she was having cocktails every day. So that's pretty good going. Okay, so my unique skill set. I studied in Guangzhou in China. I've got a double degree in traditional Chinese medicine. So I'm a doctor of traditional Chinese medicine with a double degree in acupuncture and herbal medicine. I'm also a naturopath, a functional medical practitioner, and a practitioner of environmental and nutritional medicine. So I did the medicine in Guangzhou in China, and they teach us with the Eastern herbal medicines. I'm also an Oriental medical doctor. They teach us the nature of supplementation. And so say, for example, turmeric can be quite hot, but I know for a fact that magnesium is cooling. So we know that in traditional Chinese medicine, we're taught to prescribe in a way so that all of the natures and all of the temperatures of the herbal products create this beautiful symphony within your prescription. So I use all of my traditional Chinese medical knowledge and I bring that to the functional medical piece. So you have this incredible prescription where every single supplement up potentiates the next. I'm not just throwing a whole bunch of supplementation at you. Everything works in conjunction with the other. So we learned this concept called Dui Yao, which are herbal partners. And I partner the herbs within your prescription to create this beautiful symphony, to balance that gut, to repair that gut, and to balance those hormones. I'm also a trauma-informed health coach, and I did a life coaching course with the beautiful You Life Coaching Academy, the gorgeous Julie Parker, who is one of the most incredible space holders and coaches on the planet, in my opinion. What else do I need to tell you? Bachelor's of Health Science, of Herbalism, and yes, how did this little girl become so passionate about women's health? Oh my goodness, we all have a story, don't we? Yeah, mine's certainly an interesting one. I'm actually standing in front of the booze cabinet here in this photograph, and that's my beautiful cat, Susie. I was about 6 when this photograph was taken. My parents were high-functioning alcoholics, and we definitely grew up in quite a traumatic, tumultuous, violent household. My dad had PTSD from the war and would beat my mother and myself. And there was an awful divorce that ended in me being sent away to boarding school, where I developed an eating disorder. I would basically eat just to numb the pain and numb the loneliness of being sent away from my whole family. There was no counseling in those days. Nobody explained to us what was happening. Your parents are separating. My dad went one way, my mother and my sister went another, and I was sent to boarding school. And the only connection that I had to love and family was basically through this tuck shop locker. They would basically, your family would send food and you would have this little key and you'd open your tuck shop locker and whatever was in there, I would take. Some days it would be, a whole bag of apples. Other days it would be raisin bran, and I would take it up to my bedroom. And I honestly didn't know what I was doing at the time, but human beings are so clever. Like, we absolutely know how to self-medicate. So that's what I talk about when I'm talking about medicating yourself with food or using your food as medicine in the wrong way, I guess. So, I know all the tricks. I certainly sat there on my bed and, ate the raisin bran until I felt ill, but it was a way for me to just numb that pain. So recovering food addicts will always be recovering food addicts. The body dysmorphia is real. I was obese and I had cystic acne, and, I was the little girl that wasn't allowed to be in the end of the year fashion show. I was allowed to be the chubby person, announcing everybody walking down the aisle. And I never took off my clothes to swim in the swimming pool because I didn't want to show anybody what I looked like. And I knew that things had to be different. And when I finally got overseas and started traveling, particularly India, Nepal and Thailand, I just became fascinated with Eastern mysticism. And I knew that Ayurveda had something to offer. Started studying Ayurveda on my own, and then came back to Melbourne. I actually came to Melbourne for the very first time and started studying traditional Chinese medicine and naturopathy, and found alternative ways to heal my issues. The suggestions and the support that I received was not appropriate for what was going on for my body. I certainly had metabolic syndrome. I was diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome. I was told that I would be infertile and never be able to have children. I was told that I needed to go on the oral contraceptive pill, and that was the only way that I would balance my hormones. In fact, the oral contraceptive pill does the opposite of that. It stops you ovulating. It stops you producing progesterone. It takes away your cool, calm, and collectedness. I dove into all of these alternative medicines and I healed myself. I was also diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome and Hashimoto's thyroiditis. So it was a mess. It was an absolute mess. I found alternative routes and alternative ways. I healed myself from metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and I have a beautiful 16-year-old boy, and that was all done naturally. And what else can I tell you? I'm 47. I'm about a size 10 or 12. I certainly am comfortable in my own skin. And for a 47-year-old woman, I know you probably can't see too well, but my skin's not looking too bad. So yeah, the trauma-informed health coach part really comes into practice in my clinic. So many women have experienced trauma one way or another, and I get it. I understand it. And I'm here to tell you that despite the trauma, you can certainly focus on your health, and being as vital as you possibly can be certainly makes this human experience far easier. Life is tricky, and this human experience is not for the faint-hearted. So I think if I can help as many women as I possibly can be as vital as they can possibly be, I know that they're going to have an easier time of this thing called life. And I also believe that women are the nucleus. I believe that if we are well, our children thrive. If we are well, our relationships thrive. If we are well, our partners are good. And I know how perimenopause can impact parenting and relationships. I have a clinic full of women that tell me about it every single day. So I'm here to tell you that we can make this far more graceful. Have a look at my wall of love. Don't take my word for it. Have a look at all these beautiful women that have real life stories just like yours. The Holland Clinic Academy's Health Transformation for Women. We have this complete step-by-step 6-month transformational program. It's done in 3 parts. As I've mentioned tonight already, it's repair your gut, your immunity and your metabolism, rebalance your hormones in your life, reclaim your metabolic health and prevent chronic disease now and in the future. I take you by the hand all the way in our premium program. There are no missing steps. This is the quickest, clinically proven approach to managing your perimenopause gracefully. This is outcomes focused. I am an outcomes focused clinic. Individualized care with accountability. I'm looking for 20 women. The course starts now, basically. The first group date call, I think, is on the 27th of this month. But you need to receive all the material and do all the reading and get your head around the Holland Clinic Peri protocols first. So yeah, the breakthroughs are at your own pace. And what I mean by that is micro changes. So I had that question before about, hey, I want to lose weight. And my response to you is, how quickly do you want to do things? Do you want to be gentle on yourself? Do you want to just dive in and do everything all at once? What I've found after COVID is that women want a gentler approach, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it. We've got the food protocols. We've got the supported intermittent fasting or time-restricted eating guidelines for you. I've got my ketogenic beverages, which get you into that fat burn as opposed to a fat store state. Comprehensive workbook, supplement dispensary. We express post-supplementation all over the world and all over Australia. It's a holistic focus. So like I said before, we're not just looking at what's going on for you, we're looking at why. Coaching calls, we do 2 coaching calls like this a month based entirely around my mind map, my perimenopausal mind map, rescuing you from the roller coaster of perimenopause. You get all recordings and replays. So if you can't actually be here on the night, don't worry about it. You can listen to me like a podcast. We've got group engagement and support. You've also got me one-on-one through our practice app. So Monday to Friday, 11 until 4, you've got constant chat communication with me about symptoms and about me changing your prescription if necessary. This is an individualized prescription. Of course, in our premium program, you receive the Dutch test. The Dutch test is around $400, and the Dutch test consultation with me is included in the perimenopausal premium program. That's about $495 there. Let's see, you've got individual support, coaching, and fun. So we've got this one-on-one in-depth initial consultation. So I get to meet you all one-on-one. We have a full history taking. We have about an hour and a half together, 90 minutes for you to tell me what it looks like, what you want it to look like, what's working, what isn't working. And we work out this individualized roadmap for you, a clear personalized roadmap, the gut perimenopause prescription, the hormone test kit, which is the Dutch test, one-on-one in-depth Dutch test consultation, direct unlimited chat support, group Q&As, 2 a month, unlimited prescription reviews. So if something's happening, the reason why I want unlimited prescription reviews for you, I basically call it doctor in my pocket, because what I like to do is start with the lowest possible efficacious dose according to the evidence. And then I will teeter up the dose if I'm not actually reaching that for you or getting rid of a symptom. So like that question before, how do you make sure that, those symptoms are being knocked out? Like I said before, I can't take away the fact that you're in perimenopause, but I can make this far more graceful. So most women report experiencing adverse symptoms at an 8 or a 9 out of 10 and get them right down to a 2, which I think is pretty livable. Daily affirmations to keep you on track. 14 empowering transformations. So we talk the gut, we talk weight gain and body composition, sleeps, breasts and bleeding, mood swings, anxiety and depression. These are all of the things that I look at to make sure that are intact for you. Mood swings, anxiety, depression, brain fog, memory, motivation. We look at vaginal health. We've got to make sure that your vagina stays healthy, because honestly, everything is drying out in perimenopause. It's really ungraceful, but we can lubricate all of our mucous membranes beautifully, botanical supplementation and nutritional supplements. Hair, body, facial hair, more or losing it, regaining agency and voice. There's certain, believe it or not, hormones that start to disappear where women lose their agency or their voice. We're going to bring that back. You know, we've got so much sharper in perimenopause and menopause. We have so much wisdom by now. Thyroid issues, managing energy levels, adrenals and burnout, reducing and preventing diseases, insulin and blood glucose, estrogen excess. We look at it all. I just wanted to let you know that you are able to book a clarity call with me if you're kind of going, hey, this sounds good, but I've got a few questions. Please make sure that you do that. Happy to talk to you. I'd be absolutely delighted to get you from where you are now to a very different place. This is our main program. And then we've got Repair Your Gut, Immunity and Metabolism, which is basically part 1 of the 3-part process. And then you've got an option to follow me on Instagram if you don't already do that. So please scan these codes with your phone if you're interested in having a look at any of our courses. I would love you to do that. And then I have some time for Q&A, but I also probably have some time to go over those other things I mentioned before with regards to showing you the Dutch test. The Dutch test is provided in our premium program, the Dutch test follow-up consultation with an individualized prescription and treatment plan. So that's really once we've completed the Repair Your Gut, your immune system and your metabolism, and we're on to the Rebalance Your Hormones part of the program. So the Dutch test informs me as to exactly how we're going to go about that. So once we've finished our 6-month program, you get a basic prescription that sets you up sustainably. It will set you up so that you can be vital for good. Any other questions can you see in the chat? No? Oh, wonderful. Excellent. Absolutely delighted to be here talking to you about this roller coaster. It's literally my favorite thing in the whole world to do. Please reach out, book a clarity call, come into one of our courses. We also have one-on-one consultations in our clinic called Chaos to Calm. Find those on the website, www.thehollandclinic.com. And we have Dutch test functional reviews. We can get the Dutch test to you. And we have a full medical dispensary with all of the beautiful botanicals in it. We express post all over the world. I would absolutely love that. Let's make this process far more graceful for you. Take it easy and have a beautiful night, everyone.